Ooh.
You know what we should do too? You should take a picture of us.
He has a camera.
There you go. I'll put it out for you too. Hey, go follow my girl. For sure.
It's gonna sound very funky. I'm gonna have the whole little intro, and then I'm gonna introduce you. Go ahead, and then we'll jump right on in. Welcome everyone. I'm your girl, Flygirlchristina, and welcome to my very first podcast. Today I am here with my special guest, Coach Tony Rodriguez. Coach Tony Rodriguez, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be your first guest. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming. Okay, Coach Rodriguez, can you tell the podcast a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yeah. I'm a first-year head football coach here at Riverview High School. I've been coaching, about 15 years now in high school level, and I finally got somebody to say yes. I've struck out many times in interviews, and I finally got the shot and want to make the most of it. Just a little bit about me. I started out teaching and coaching over at East Bay High School. That's where I started my career, made a lot of friends, and happy about that. And I actually coached 1 year in Zephyr Hills, a long time ago, 2011. And then I actually coached at Riverview for 2 years, 2018 and 19, when we had that real big season. I think we went 8-3, made the playoffs. And recently in 2020, I got an opportunity to go to Alabama and coach with Rick Darlington. Everybody knows him from Apopka High School. He got a big opportunity there in Alabama, and I got to go coach with him and learn how to run a great program, how a great program should be run. So many of the stuff I'm trying to implement here at Riverview is stuff I saw there in Enterprise, Alabama, coaching with him. And then most recently, there in 21, I was teaching and coaching down in Manatee County at Parish Community High School. I was the assistant head coach down there and coordinator, and then this job came open and got lucky. So
that's a huge opportunity for you to coach with Alabama for a little bit and learning their techniques. But as I know, last year y'all had a record of 2-8 with the last year's coach. How are you going to improve on this year?
Well, we take one game at a time as we approach the season coming up. But as I'm coming in, I came in January, got the job, and the first thing we had to do was kind of just start over. You know what I mean, and change the culture. You know what I mean. We had to implement some discipline, some accountability. Our mantra is count on me. You know what I mean? Just getting these guys to buy in, and we started out with having a great participation level numbers wise in our off-season program. Lifting weights and doing our speed and conditioning, and then we ended up doing really good in our spring game versus Leonard, and so you just got this wave of excitement, and these kids are kind of believing right now. We're just riding that wave as we're in the summer right now, working out, heading towards this upcoming season. So we expect it to be completely different than last year's team, and we are. We're a completely different team, and our deal is we're just going to try to be disciplined and outwork our opponents and hold each other accountable, and that's kind of our approach.
That is great. So what are your core values as a coach?
Core values as a coach. Threw me off guard there a little bit, right? No, definitely our core values, like I mentioned, I had an acronym. I had a freaking acronym. I'm blowing it, ain't I?
No, you're good. You're just fine. You're doing just fine.
Yeah. Our core values, we want to, be disciplined, not in terms of football. We don't want to lose games because we're beating ourselves. Being undisciplined, getting penalties, fumbling the football, and things like that. So we're trying to just do a real good job of not beating ourselves, not sabotaging ourselves. We want to make sure, we're. I need to come back to that question. I'm sorry. I'm gonna come back to that question.
It's okay. We can come back to it.
I've got an acronym I use, and I'm just drawing blank. I'm so sorry.
You are good. You are just fine. So I know when you say y'all go through penalties and everything through a game, how do you keep the team motivated if y'all lose a game?
Well, you just got to get back to the basics. It's hard to go 10-0 in football. But you just got to make a commitment to getting better and getting back to practice and correcting your mistakes and having each other's back. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. You know what I mean? They already had to deal with a lot of adversity last year, and we just got to stay together as a team and fight through it and get better.
Okay, in your opinion, what are your strengths and weaknesses of being a football coach? Like, what do you go through?
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast in itself, right? No, it's I'll be lying to you if I didn't say I wasn't shocked. Like, I'm drinking water through a fire hose right now, being a head coach, just learning as a new head coach. I'm like learning all the policies and procedures and how things should be, and you deal with all different aspects from liability and safety and to grades and recruiting and there's just and parents, and there's just so many different elements to being a head coach. It's for what you get paid in Florida compared to Alabama and Georgia and Texas coaches. It's kind of crazy that there's guys that are willing to do this for the pay that we make. But it's a lot. It's a lot. You definitely got to love it. My wife, she's great. Football is a part of our family. I couldn't do it without her, and integrating football into our family. She's a big help. So I guess my strengths is the people that I have around me, my wife and my friends and my staff. They're great. Weaknesses, I try to do too many things myself without delegating and asking for help. You know what I mean? That's probably my weakness. Something I need to work on.
Okay, so I know you were talking about athletes and their academics. How do you view the relationship between academics and football players?
Well, you're a student first, right? Student athlete, you're a student first. So, we stress if you want to go to move on to play college football, moving on to the next level, you got to start with a 3 in front of your GPA to even have an opportunity, right? And so we put a big emphasis on that. We do student progress monitoring, weekly grade reports that we do. And we make our kids go to tutoring. If they're below a certain threshold of a 2.4, or even our incoming freshmen, everybody's going to go into tutoring, so we can try to help drive their GPAs up to get them to that 3.0 status so they qualify for them scholarships and that free money. You know what I mean? Even if they're not going to go play college football. So it's important. Your grades first. Grades before football. So.
Okay. Y'all athletes heard that? Y'all have to have your grades first before y'all want to play in the game. Even if you're trying to make it to the next level of college football, y'all have to have those grades.
You have to. I mean, when you sit down with recruiters, many times we got a recruiting fair in February at Jefferson High School. And the first thing those recruiters do when you sit down is they're going to hey, these are my requirements to get into the school. You got to have a 3.0 or higher. You got to have this SAT. And you're looking at your roster, your prospect sheet, and you're like, okay, I got 2 guys. You know what I mean? So your opportunities increase immensely as you drive up your GPA, your SAT scores. Sometimes it's not even about your ability on the field and your highlight. It's more about your grades and your test scores. So we just encourage these kids to maximize their opportunities, drive them grades up, drive them test scores up, so that they have options at the end when they're seniors.
That is very much so true. You have to make sure you have those grades, and without the grades, no field play.
That's right.
So what is your key advice for your class of 2023 players on this field? Because I know you have some upcoming seniors this year. What are your advice to them this year?
Just let's try to have some fun, have a great high school experience. Let's try to drive like we just talked about grades. We want to try to help them drive that grade point average up as high as we can so they have opportunity at the end of the year. Leave a legacy. You know what I mean? Like you said, we were 2-8 last year here at this high school. You have an opportunity to turn this school around, this program around. We're going into our 25th year anniversary for this school. You know what I mean? So it's perfect time to start a new program, a new team, and leave a legacy for the future. So that was my advice is let's just let it all hang out and work hard and leave something behind so these young kids that are coming up behind you have something to look up to.
Correct. I know, as I like to say, leave it all out on the field. And once you leave it on the field, it's like your last dance, unless you're going to make it to college football. But I know that means a lot to these boys now. So what does the game of football mean to you, like personally?
That's a good question. I think some of my best friends that I've ever met, lifelong friends, I met through football. And it's a game where people from different walks of life, you know what I mean, get to interact that maybe you never would have interacted with before, you know what I mean, without the sport of football. So it's important to me just because it's an opportunity to have some friendships, but and I enjoy the camaraderie, not just amongst my team, but even around the county with some guys I used to coach with or play with. Just that camaraderie around the game on Friday night. It's an awesome feeling. I can't imagine my life without that feeling. Just not having a game to go see on a Friday night or something to prepare for, some game that you're preparing for. I couldn't imagine that without that in my life, I guess. So it's very important to me.
It is very important because I know if you have a big student body and a lot of people come to the games, it makes you feel good, and it makes everyone feel like, okay, we're going to the Riverview High School game. After you had a season last year where it was like a little struggle, everybody had to push through, but now this year you're like, okay, I think we might have something on our shoulder that you don't know what to expect. So following up with that answer, in your opinion, what do you think your biggest opponent for this year is going to be this football season?
Our biggest opponent is ourselves. You know what I mean? We were just talking about earlier. We don't want to sabotage ourselves or beat ourselves. We take it one play at a time, one game at a time, and just try to out-execute our opponents. Obviously, our district this year, I believe, is Durant, Sumner, and Newsom, right? And so those are, our biggest opponents, our district opponents. We want to, if we want to have a shot for the postseason, we got to beat those teams. And then, of course, our rival is East Bay.
Yes.
So being that I used to coach over there, I know that's going to be a cool game to be a part of. I think they haven't Riverview hasn't beaten East Bay in about 10 years or so, maybe even longer. And so I'd like to get help Riverview out with that. Get that we play for a cup, and I'd like to get that cup over to our school. That'd be pretty sweet.
As I know, go ahead and get that cup. Don't even worry about stressing it. Okay, describe your process for developing a new game plan. What process do you go through?
As a coach, you mean?
As a coach. As
a coach, probably just, if we've got, week-to-week opponents, we'll study film. We'll break down ourselves from the week before and try to correct our mistakes. But really, I think I'm a believer in having a system, you know what I mean? And just trying to not necessarily out-scheme somebody, but out-execute them, you know what I mean? Kind of control what we can control, worry about how we play, not the who we play. Right. If that makes sense. Just so focus on being the best version of ourselves, and I think success will find us, So as you of course, you're going to put your little wrinkles in it. You think it's going to work after you look at their film and stuff like that. But really, it's just about trying to practice better, being more efficient, and fixing your mistakes day in and day out based on practice film and your game film, And you got to assess your team, you know what I mean? This guy got an offensive tackle, is that the best tackle that we have? Should we make a move? Just evaluating your talent, not being afraid to make a move, those kind of things. So we look at the whole deal, and coming into a new school too, I want to try to help develop the JV, you know what I mean, and foster some success down there, winning, and sort of carry over to when they move up to the varsity level. So we're going to try to varsity guys try to coach the JV guys too. You know what I mean? As one program versus two separate teams.
So they can teach them what they learned from you. They can teach the JV, which is really way to go with it.
That's right. They can also the same coach that's on varsity coaching, let's say the quarterbacks, coaching the senior quarterback. He's also the same guy coaching the freshman quarterback. So he hears them all 4 years that he's in high school. Right. Pretty cool.
So I know when you're talking about film and players, in your opinion, what makes an outstanding football player? What aspects are you looking at?
That's a great question. For me, I think it's more about, in high school football, I think it's more about the intangibles more than the tangibles on our level. You know what I mean? Right. So I know Division I recruiters that come in and they just want you to show them, your guys with your tangibles, the guys with your height, weight, speed, you know what I mean, the length, but some of our best players aren't those guys, with those measurements. You know what I mean? Our best guys are the guys that are leaders, the hard workers, the guys that ain't afraid to get on somebody's butt and hold them accountable. Those are our best players, our captains. You know what I mean? I love those kids. So those are the kids I really look for. I think I answered your question.
Yes, you really did answer my question.
I get started, man. It's hard to stop, Yeah.
What are your football coaching goals you strive to accomplish this year, and how will you achieve these coaching goals?
Yeah, so this year, coming in, we're trying to build a program and it's been tough. It's literally starting over from scratch. You know what I mean? From fundraising even. You know what I mean? From your bank account. You got to have money to run your program year round. The huddle highlights that these kids show. I mean, that costs money for that subscription every single year that we have to. So we, just getting in here and getting the kids organized to be able to do some fundraising. We have to worry about our speed and strength and conditioning program. We got into some 7-on-7 stuff. You know what I mean? Did the USF sling and shoot. That was really cool.
I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, look at Riverview trying to get out
We're
there.
We're trying. And having a little summer program, just kind of getting the parents involved as much as possible, trying to lock arms with them and be united. You got to plan all kind of things, pregame meals, just recruiting. You got to be thinking about recruiting. We took a group to FAMU and West Florida. We took a group of about 7 kids, prospects, and that was cool to go through that experience with them. But there's just so many elements to putting a program together. I could keep going on and on and on. So I'm learning. I haven't been through a complete calendar year yet as a head coach, and I'm still learning every day. Oh man, I should be doing this, or I should be doing. I got to think this is coming up, and so I do have a team mom and parents and staff that do try to help me as these things come up, and I do run things by them, and I got a great administration here, and so it just takes all of us meeting, communicating, and kind of working together. I guess that's my plan, is to use my resources, which is the people that are around me, to help. It takes a village, right? You always hear that saying.
It does.
And that's how I'm trying to do it, just not by myself, but get out in the community, get people from, I'm trying to build a relationship with the middle school and the Little League over here, and just bring it all together. We're Riverview, we're the city, this is our school. And so hope that answers your question.
No,
there.
it did. It answered my question perfectly. So I know you were talking about y'all had a group of 7 that went to West Florida and FAMU. How did you stay updated on these latest coaching news and information? How did you stay updated on all of this?
So I'm a big social media guy, like on Twitter, and so I follow coaches, and they're during springtime, they invite people up, and I just think, hey, I got to get my guys some exposure. I got to get them up there and get seen, and let them maybe watch older guys doing the position that they play, and maybe they can inspire them to work a little harder, and maybe the coach can give them some advice and give them a look over if I bring them to them. Just try to think of all I can do to try to give them an edge in the recruiting game. But me also, I'm a football coach that's a fan too, and I want to learn from these coaches. So I like to go visit these colleges and see what they're doing, strategy-wise, drill-wise. And so it's kind of like twofold. You get to go make a relationship and learn from these guys, but also, hey, you don't have to come to my school. I just brought these recruiters or prospects to you. You can recruit them a little bit, and I have them on campus for you. So it's just been a win-win when we do those campus tours like that.
So it's like a piece of a pie. You're learning one from the other, and you're getting your fair share for the whole team.
That's it.
And you're teaching them how to manage, how to get through the drills, the techniques, and everything so forth. So who inspired you to be a coach, and who did you look up to?
That's a good question. It's not just one person. I'll tell you that. It's a bunch of people. When I was in high school, I had a coach I used to like teacher's assistant. I was his teacher assistant. He's one of my favorite coaches. His name was Kevin Kelly when I was at East Bay High School. And I think he's retired now. He used to be at Durant for a long time in Plant City. But he was just a guy that always would ask me, hey, how's your mom doing? He had a great relationship. It was never always about football. He asked me about my family, and we played basketball. Just as a guy that always checked on me. And I just as I grew up, I was like, man, I'd love to be like Coach Kelly. You know what I mean? And then in my family, my mom always looked up to one of our family members. It's one of her cousins, is Brad Scott. That's the head coach at USF's dad, And he used to coach at Florida State and South Carolina and stuff. And so we would watch on Saturdays, watch him coaching and stuff like that. My mom would tell me stories and stuff as they were growing up, and so I always had a good role model there to kind of look up to. Although it didn't get to see them all the time, because we're a distant family, but it was somebody like I could look up to from afar, if that makes sense. That, man, he's a good coach, and I'd like to be like him. He's an offensive line coach, and that's kind of my repertoire, what I'm good at doing with offensive line. And I think those two guys stick out as guys that were guys I looked up to. Mentor wise and stuff, that's a good question. I've got so many people, in my life. I was telling you I do a podcast too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just all the people I've met through social media and friends and through the podcast and the coaching network. I've just met so many people. I'd be in trouble if I named one of them, because there's so many people that I look up to. You know what I mean? I have to get back to you on that one more specific.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and follow up with that question I did ask you. What are your core values as a coach?
Oh, that's a good one. Man. My core values.
It's okay. You can take your time because all hands is on you.
So when you're interviewing for a coaching position, that's a question you're going to be asked, and you memorize it. And when you're pitching your program to your families, you know what I mean, and tell them what you're about, that's another one. That's and I'm sitting here drawing a freaking blank. You know what I mean? And what I usually say and what we're about. I could just tell you, it's where core values, would be, honesty, respect for others, being disciplined, working hard, a bunch of characteristics that we try to just instill into our young men as they're on their journey to become men, right? Those are all things we value here at Riverview, and I'm so sorry I'm drawing a blank on that one.
You're not drawing a blank, because I know honesty and discipline is what makes a team. Yeah. And then being respectful to one another, which also makes a team. Yeah. It follows everything, like grabs together. So it's like almost, we want to call it tic-tacs. You put all the tic-tacs together, and then just gravitates. Everything keeps gravitating. The more you keep having those three key things, it makes the team come together, and then that's how you win. If everybody's not together, you don't win.
At the end of the day, you're right. Goes back to them intangibles we were talking about too, right? It's having those leaders that help you do those kind of things, bring people together.
Right. And I'm happy that you understand those core values as a coach, as you are, but I think that's really a wrap. So I think we got everything done. I think that's it. I'm glad to have you on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you, and good luck with your future.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope this takes off for you.